This was the episode for me. As the credits rolled, I knew I'd just fallen in love with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The plot is focused around our main cast and not some one-off character. There are hugely emotional sequences and incredible performances. We also get the much needed development for Fitz and Simmons, and holy crap, do they deliver the goods. This episode means a lot to me. I love it so much. In Pennsylvania, a scout group shares scary stories before the leader heads off to check on some mysterious humming he can hear. After objects start floating, electricity sparks and screams are heard, the leader is found dead, his body floating in the air. Simmons monitors Coulson for some reports, who appears perfectly healthy. Ward says the gun Fitz is working on is too heavy for him, causing Fitz to do an impression.
I'm Agent Graham Ward. I could shoot the legs off a flea from 500 yards, as long as it's not windy.
Skye and Ward clearly still aren't on the best terms after the previous episode. Fitz tries to comfort her and makes his crush more evident by trying to find common ground between them. Skye misinterprets this beautifully.
You and Simmons are so tight, it's like you're psychically linked.
No, do you know? Actually, no, I don't think so.
Simmons returns and proves Skye right.
I'm Agent Grant Ward, and I could rupture your spleen with my left pinky. Blindfolded.
All scenes with the bus kids are god tier and I will accept no arguments. Ward calls him in for briefing and Simmons tricks him into thinking the gun is now fixed. The team investigate the incident from the beginning but seem stumped over who or what caused it. Simmons inspects the body and gets an electric shock. Skye debriefs Coulson and Ward on the victim, but it all seems pretty clean.
Everybody looks clean on their first go-round.
Coulson notes Ward is being hard on Skye, but he's still hurt by her betrayal. Simmons studies the body while Fitz is afraid of it, and we get more hilarious interplay between the two.
Do you remember the last time you brought a dead thing into the lab?
Oh, not this stupid cat again.
The
and
cat.
It's our lab,
Tell
Fitz,
him
not
about
your
the cat.
lab.
You left his liver next to my lunch.
Guys!
Ha! They're having a cat fight. Fitz locates another electrical spike nearby. The team just miss it but find another victim like the first. Skye works out both victims worked as volunteer firefighters together during the events of the Avengers, and one of them is shown examining a Chitauri helmet. I like this little tie-in exploring the after effects of such a devastating invasion that the movies sort of have to gloss over. Coulson, Ward and May interview the firefighters. One of them, Tony Diaz, doesn't look too well. Coulson spots this and follows him into another room. May finds the helmet, and as Diaz reveals he cleaned it a few days ago along with the other victims, Simmons realises they must have all gotten infected with an alien virus. Then we get to one of my favourite scenes in the episode, and one of my favourite Coulson moments ever. Diaz realises he's going to die, but Coulson comforts him about what it's like after death, admitting he knows something isn't quite right about what people say about his death.
What's it like?
It's beautiful.
I was tearing up during this exchange. Both actors give beautiful performances here. Diaz seems to find some peace and tells Coulson to go. The virus claims its third victim. Arrangements are made to send the helmet to Agent Blake at the Sandbox, a secure S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. May checks in on Coulson. Unlike previous scenes between the two,
The solitude.
May actually wants to talk to Coulson here and shows a moving amount of concern.
You'd tell me if something was wrong.
Of course.
It's a beautiful moment, and the kind of character interactions I'd been craving more of after the scene with Skye telling Ward about her time in foster care. This is the good stuff, showing us the plot and how it affects the characters with specific scenes dedicated to this instead of solely the plot itself. Simmons works out the virus is transferred via electric shock. As she tells this to Coulson, he spots objects floating behind her and quarantines her in the room. Following her shock at the start of the episode, Simmons had gotten infected. And just like that, an already great episode becomes superb. This isn't a one-off character like Aquila in danger, it's one of our core cast, and the rest of the episode is about the 6 of them. And it's phenomenal. Fitz tries to distract Simmons to keep her mind, and probably his, at ease. The look on their faces as they turn away from each other kill me, they're dying inside. The team estimate they have about 2 hours until Simmons succumbs to the virus and therefore would take down the entire plane. Fitzsimmons' first attempt at a vaccine
I wish you wouldn't use the word vaccine. It's really more of an anti-serum.
doesn't work. Fitz cracks a joke to try and lighten the mood, and my heart is breaking for both of them. Have I mentioned how good Elizabeth and Ian are? Because they're really bloody good. Ward and Skye have a nice scene where they bond over feeling helpless. He also warns Skye they may have to be prepared to do whatever they're ordered to if things don't work out. I like that it's Ward saying this considering he's the one who disobeyed orders and leaps to rescue Simmons later on. Agent Blake informs Coulson that S.H.I.E.L.D. had ordered him to dump the dangerous cargo. Coulson pretends not to hear it, learning from the best.
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
Fitz tells Simmons it'll all be fine, but can't even look at her as he says it. The The tense situation gets to them and they start arguing about Fitz not even wanting to join Coulson's team, but Simmons convincing him to.
And don't you dare act like these last months have been the highlight of your entire pasty life.
You were so quiet and pasty and so incredibly smart, handsome.
At the academy, at PsyOps, this plane. You've been beside me the whole damn time.
You can really feel the history and closeness these two have, a lot of it coming from Elizabeth and Ian's electric chemistry. The argument dies down when they realise the Chitauri itself is immune to the virus, so a cure can be made from that. Fitz grabs the helmet and rushes into the lab, putting his life in danger to save his best friend.
Just try and do your best to keep your hands off me, yeah?
She'll try her best, but maybe some things are inevitable.
We're gonna fix this. Together.
Simmons' little smile at this comment, that slither of hope and gladness Fitz is with her she can't admit to because now he's in danger? So good. They create another vaccine, but it still doesn't seem to work. Simmons asks Coulson to avoid protocol and tell her dad about her upcoming death first.
I just think my mum would take it better if it comes from him.
And I'm crying. Simmons asks for a moment alone with Fitz. Sky's face as they all leave is gut-wrenching. She's just found a family and is already apparently losing one of them. Fitz is determined to keep working, wanting to avoid a more intimate moment and almost certainly a goodbye. Finally cooling the cure in anti-serum like Simmons preferred, a lovely little detail. Simmons looks at him with so much awe and sadness as she knocks him unconscious. Fitz comes to and realises the anti-serum actually does work before spotting Gemma stood at the edge of the plane. He screams and pleads for her to hear him. She turns around to make sure Fitz's face is the last one she sees and falls from the plane, heroically sacrificing her own life to save her team. This is one of the first moments I can remember openly gasping at a TV show. Fitz's cry of Gemma's name, not even Simmons, Gemma, is so painful. He's not crying out for his lab partner and colleague Simmons, he's begging his best friend Gemma not to leave him. Fitz fumbles trying to put on a parachute to go after Simmons. Ward arrives as Fitz explains the serum actually works. Ward grabs the parachute and serum before jumping after Simmons, catching her and administering the cure. Coulson berates Simmons and Ward for their actions.
We'd hate to lose you, Gemma.
Clark's delivery of this line is perfection. I love how we had multiple people calling her Gemma after this incident. Ward tells Gemma how brave she'd been. Gemma admits to Ward she lied about the gun earlier, but Ward already knew.
I'm Agent Grant Ward.
Sky adorably hugs Gemma while May checks on Coulson again. Coulson admits he's felt different since coming back to life and ordered the earlier checks Gemma performed himself. May gets Coulson to show his scar from Loki's scepter to her, and tells him he feels different simply because he is. He finds comfort in that. We also get a tiny tease of backstory for May.
You know how long it's taken me.
I know.
I'm very intrigued by this, especially as after this episode I feel like May is the only one without a big character episode focused on her. Fitzsimmons' talk in Fitz's bunk as he tries to explain how he wanted to be the hero who saved her. I love Fitz clutching his pillow in this scene. I remember loving it as it felt so real and human considering I do the same thing. Gemma assures him that he was a hero after how he helped her. She thanks him with a kiss on the cheek and departs. After this, I knew these two were seared onto my heart and will never leave. Left alone, the camera stays on Fitz as he seems deep in thought, potentially realising something about his best friend. Funny how his crush on Sky seems to vanish after this episode. Probably nothing to read into. In the tag, Blake takes the Chitauri helmet back to the sandbox and notes Coulson seems very different. Coulson tells him to get used to it, having made peace with this new version of himself. It's probably not a surprise to say that this episode is one of my favourites so far and still one of my favourites to this day. The plot is set up in a way that allows Coulson to open up about his struggles, then directly affects one of the core cast so they can all take centre stage in the second half of the episode. It also ties into the larger events of the Avengers in a way the films just don't have time to do. The performances are sublime, the emotions hit perfectly, the cast are great together, and the much needed development for Fitz and Simmons comes and hits me like a truck, so much so that they become my top two favourites. And this is just the beginning of what these characters and actors can do. It's shocking, beautiful, heartfelt television about a man accepting changes in his life and the love between two best friends. I started shipping them so hard after this and haven't stopped since. Now I'm just craving development like this for May. I'm more than willing to be patient now though. With episodes like this, I knew the writers would deliver if he waited long enough. I'm all in. What a beautiful piece of television. I loved it then, I love it now, and I'll love it always.